On May 23, 2014, a 22-year-old student named Elliot Rodger committed a massacre in his college town of Isla Vista, California. His attacks left 6 dead and 14 wounded, and came to an end when he became cornered by police and shot himself in the head. As is typical of the media after a major tragedy like this takes place, news outlets across the country began to speculate as to why this attack happened, and argued about which precautions were necessary to put into place in order to prevent similar tragedies from happening in the future. What made the Isla Vista massacre so rare was that the culprit left behind a 137-page manifesto titled My Twisted World, detailing his life story and articulating precisely why he committed the attack. Furthermore, Elliot Rodger also had a deep internet history spanning across several platforms and websites, and his interactions online provided an important look into his perspective as well. Unsurprisingly, despite this unusual abundance of information about a spree killer, a majority of the media outlets instead took advantage of this tragedy in order to push their typical agendas that get parroted over and over again every time an attack like this takes place. Segments of Elliot Rodger's manifesto and online history were taken out of context in order to support arguments about gun regulations, mental health services, video game violence, and all the other typical talking points. In addition to Elliot's manifesto and his online presence, the only other source of information into Elliot's state of mind came from interviews conducted with his childhood friends, former teachers, and most famously his father, Peter Rodger. This interview with Peter Rodger was particularly troublesome, as many of his claims contradicted the information that was written in Elliot's manifesto. In some cases, it seemed clear that Peter was merely misleading the interviewer, and in others, it's possible that he was outright lying. But for the past 3 years, no new information about the case has been revealed, so the inconsistencies between Elliot and Peter's accounts have been impossible to discern. But now, new information has been released that gives us a clearer view into the behind-the-scenes details of Elliot's life and his family drama. Every year on the anniversary of Elliot Rodger's attack, an internet hacker going by the name of A Cruel Society has been leaking documents stolen from Elliot and Peter Rodger's private email accounts on the website 4chan.org. After gaining access to these accounts, the hacker took screenshots of every email that was sent between Elliot and his parents or between his parents while discussing their son. The leaks posted on 4chan were typically never-before-seen images of Elliot and other mostly unimportant documents. This hacker then came across the Mumkey Jones YouTube channel, where I've created several videos analyzing Elliot Rodger's life and his crimes. He then sent me every single email that had been retrieved from his hack, with the hope that I would create some sort of video or documentary exposing the information within the leaks to the world. That is what you're watching now. And just for legal purposes, it is important to note that I did not hack these email accounts, and I did not steal this information. The hacker simply sent these emails to me, and I am relaying them to the public and extrapolating conclusions based on the information found within them. I am just the messenger here. The divorce of Peter and Chin Rodger was a major turning point in Elliot Rodger's life. Over the course of his life, this separation would cause Elliot a lot of confusion and anguish, and at several points would lead Elliot to feeling rejected and hated by his own parents. And based on some of the emails we are about to read, one could easily discern that Elliot was used as a pawn in a cruel, never-ending battle between his parents. The divorce took place shortly after Elliot's 7th birthday. He describes how he felt and the impact this would have on his life on page 10 of his manifesto. Very shortly after my 7th birthday, the news came. I believe it was my mother who told me that she and my father were getting a divorce. My mother, who only a few months before told me that such a thing will never happen. I was absolutely shocked, outraged, and above all, overwhelmed. This was a huge life-changing event. My father was required to pay child support to my mother so that she can look after us. My life would change forever after this. The family I grew up with has split in half, and from then on I would grow up in 2 different households. I remember crying, All the happy times I spent with my mother and father as a family were gone, only to remain in memory. It was a very sad day. Just like the move to the US, it would be like starting a whole new life with a new routine. Peter Rodger soon remarried and had another son, Elliot's half-brother Jazz. Elliot's stepmother, Sumaya, would be one of the major causes of stress and mental turmoil throughout his life. In his manifesto, Elliot often claimed that he felt as though Sumaya was trying to steal his father away from him and that Sumaya wanted him kicked out of the family. Whether she actually intended for this to happen or not, it eventually did happen, and Elliot spent a long period of his life estranged from his father. Peter and Chin remained in contact after their divorce, but there was a lot of tension between the two of them, and it seems that their conversations were only about their children. Specifically, about money for their children. Whenever an Elliot-related expense would come around, Chin would contact Peter asking if he would be willing to pay half. This continued for several years until Peter faced a huge financial crisis that consumed entire chapters of Elliot's manifesto. The utter failure that was Peter's first feature film, a documentary titled Oh My God. Elliot describes this film on page 49. My father's career as a commercial director hadn't been as successful as it was a couple years before. He foolishly decided to invest all of his money in his first feature film, a documentary named Oh My God. In the film, he would interview various people about their opinions on religion and God. To make it, he took off to travel all over the world for a couple months. I was hopeful about my father's movie, however. He kept talking about how he will become very rich from it, and I fostered a hope that he would become rich. How naive I was. The movie would only bankrupt him in the future. After the film failed and Peter found himself in financial turmoil, he was no longer willing, or perhaps able, to help Chin pay for Elliot's expenses. Chin sent an email explaining that she was paying for Elliot's college tuition fees and was merely asking Peter to help pay for Elliot's car insurance. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back. Peter, I am writing to you to ask that you make this small contribution towards Elliot's further education by paying for his auto insurance. It will be $310 PM. You can send me a check for $310 payable to Automobile Club of SC. Chin, I would love to help, but I am in a crisis. I can't even write a check right now and all my credit cards are maxed out. As soon as the situation changes and I start getting money again, I would be delighted to help out. I am doing everything I can to get to that place, so please bear with me. Best, Peter. After explaining that he would be unable to pay, Peter received this message from Chin. It is sad you continue to opt out of Elliot's needs. It is no longer acceptable for Elliot. Fathers provide for their children. They would even borrow, beg, or steal to provide for their kids. To prepare their son ready for life, give him tools to succeed. Elliot is very disappointed with you, and I don't blame him. What I find interesting about this email is that Chin tells Peter that Elliot is disappointed in him. This is one of the many examples where Elliot's parents use him as a pawn in their battle against each other. And I would argue that this was one of the many things that caused the boy mental turmoil. This will be made even more evident in a moment. Peter then responds that Chin only contacts him when she wants money. It's funny how you only communicate with me when you want money. And at this point, Chin ups the emotional manipulation into overdrive. I told Elliot I am done with you. He is done with you, but I will write in response for him to hopefully make this happen for him. He agreed that I should respond. Bye. I'm not a family therapist, so take my opinions with a grain of salt. But for Chin to use Elliot's love for his father as a weapon to emotionally manipulate her ex-husband into spending money, while at the same time convincing her teenage son to completely disregard his father, seems a bit barbaric to me. And if up to this point you've been wondering, Mumkey, why are you showing us these emails? They seem completely irrelevant to understanding Elliot's state of mind. Well, this is why. In my opinion, Elliot being used as an emotional pawn in a cruel game being played between his parents almost certainly contributed to the mental and emotional anguish he felt that was bottled up and eventually exploded on the streets of Isla Vista. Peter immediately recognized the emotional manipulation that Chin was trying to pull, and he responded, "Listen, Chin, I am not sure you understand the meaning of crisis. Stop kicking me when I'm down. Right now I have $55,000 in credit card debt, no money in the bank, defaulting on a $950,000 mortgage. My mother gave me $1,000 for my birthday, and I paid you $500 for Georgia out of it. I am working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day trying to get out of this hole. You could have thanked me for getting you a cheaper rate of insurance. I didn't say I wasn't going to help. I can't right now. I have $350 left for food till the end of the month until a check comes in, which has been postponed every week now for the last 3 months. What do you want me to do? Send over my bank statements to prove that I am in a crisis? What is it you don't understand? The C, the R, the I, the S, the next I, or the next S? Elliot, don't listen to your mother's manipulation. I love you and want to help you, but I am in a crisis. When I have got through it, I would be delighted to help. Now please just send me some love and good words instead of kicking me while I'm down. Both of you. Elliot, as soon as I have begun to recover from this crisis, I will be there for you." It's clear that Elliot chose to side with his mother. Unable to receive funds from Peter, Chin contacted his mother, a woman who Elliot refers to in his manifesto as Grandma Jinx, and asked her for financial assistance. Peter was not happy about this, and this led to Elliot blowing up on his father. "Dear Peter, guess who? It's your son. Yes, you have another son, and a literate one at that. Search your feeble mind, and I'm sure you'll remember. Cringe your face and crease your brows if you have to. It has been quite some time since we last spoke, and I have much to say. Now, are you daft or just thick-headed? I suspect both. You actually think my mother is using me for money. Well, I always thought you were a bit stubborn and stupid, but I didn't expect this folly from you. Let me enlighten your obstinate mind on some truths, if that's possible. Though I guess it doesn't hurt to try. It was I who first requested allowance from my grandma because I need money for college, something you promised to me quite some time ago. Oh, did you forget? Anyways, I asked my mother to send an email to Grandma Jinx to confirm that I am going to attend college, for if she receives an email from both my mother and I, she would be more inclined to help. What, do you think that once Jinx starts sending the checks that my mother will secretly steal them all and fabricate some lame excuse as to why they're not coming? I cannot help but laugh. That is just too amusing. You claim that my mother is manipulative and conniving, yet you would believe she would attempt to pull off a foolish stunt like this. You're contradicting yourself. Even if she is fool enough to try such a farce, why go through the trouble? She has a decent paying job, unlike you, and many rich connections. An extra $120 a month wouldn't be worth the trouble. The money was for me, for my college. So now you are going to go batshit crazy on me for requesting money from your mother? If you do, you would clearly be insane, because you yourself suggested that my grandma help me out with college just 6 months ago. Hell, you even asked Jinx yourself. The same debacle occurred when my mother requested that you pay for my car insurance. You should have at least had the decency to help out with half of it, financial crisis or no. As a father, you haven't helped me out for last 2 years. You might as well have been non-existent. Oh yes, there was that one cheap bike you bought me a few months ago. It's broken down now. Not like that matters since I have a car. But you still have my utmost appreciation for that, surely. You cannot blame me for my harsh words, Peter. It's the truth. If you even consider me a son, you would have at least tried to speak with me in the last 3 months, knowing what struggles I've been through. But no, you wouldn't even do that. Afraid of my voice? Or did your dominant wife command you to never speak to me? In the past 3 months, the only squeak I've heard from you are your angry, irrational emails you send my mother. And yes, she shows them to me as they concern me, and I am an adult. After reading the email you sent yesterday, I seriously cannot help but wonder what twisted conceptions have been planted in your head. This reeks of Sumaya's manipulation, to be sure. but that is just a suspicion. I would not be surprised though, because from my experience with you and her, she has but to say the word and you turn into her raging dog. Okay, now you are going to start ranting about how much Sumaya loves the family and how much she has helped you. Yes, yes, yes. Of course she has given her fair share of aid to the family. Who wouldn't? But she has been an utter bitch towards me throughout the years. You just cannot realize it because she has such a strong hold over you. Honestly, I do not know what you see in the woman. You cow down to her every whim. Is she even a good lay? From the way she supposedly walks around the house naked all day, I'd say she gives you quite a tease. Though her naked body wouldn't be much to look at. Oh, and every summer she flies off to Morocco and spends all your hard-earned money, leaving you in a cold, empty bed. Not the kind of wife I'd want, let alone worship with unrelenting vigor. Well, I'm going to leave it at that. Think about what I've said, sweet father. It will do you good. I could tell you more of the things your wife has done. I could give you more examples how much of an obtuse cuckold you are being, but it won't be any use, will it? Because of the sole fact that you are an obtuse cuckold. I've probably wasted my time bothering you since the only person you listen to is your wife who you worship so much. And you'll just disregard this email like you did all my other emails. But as I said in the beginning, it doesn't hurt to try. I wish you good health, which is something you probably lack having to deal with that woman all day. And a very happy belated birthday. Elliot. This explosive email is the culmination of the effects the divorce had on Elliot's life. The separation led to emotional manipulation, financial troubles, a stepmother who Elliot hates and feels as though he is mistreated by, and ultimately, the estrangement of Elliot and his father. But it wasn't just the financial issues and the manipulation that led to Elliot's blow-up on his father. This email was written a year after one of the most stressful periods of Elliot's life. His trip to Morocco, and the huge fight he would have with Peter and Sumaya afterwards. But we'll get to that tomorrow. Again, I am not an expert in this field, so take from this information what you will. In my view, Elliot's relationship with his parents, as shown within these emails, contributed to his demented mental state. You can disagree and claim that this information is irrelevant, but my goal here is to try and understand Elliot's psyche to get a more proper understanding of why this tragedy happened. Shortly after graduating high school, Elliot Rodger was growing more and more resentful towards the world. He describes this period of time on page 57 of his manifesto. My whole world twisted even deeper into darkness and despair as my depressing life continued on. My hatred for people who have sex festered inside me like a plague. I frequently went on walks around town to brood over how hopeless and unfair everything was. It was better than being stuck in my room all the time. When I saw young couples walking around at the mall, my anger and hatred intensified greatly. It was the worst torture ever to see them making out and being intimate. My life, if you can call it a life, was living hell. His parents noticed how radical Elliot's behavior was becoming, and they decided to intervene by sending him to Morocco with his stepmother Sumaya. Elliot had always hated Sumaya, often referring to her as a cruel, evil bitch, and his previous trips to Morocco had been unpleasant, boring experiences. So the prospect of being trapped in Morocco for an extended period with his stepmother sent Elliot into panic mode. After hearing this news, I felt a sense of urgency that I had never felt before. They already had a plane ticket ready for me, and I was scheduled to leave in 5 days. My immediate goal was to stop my parents from sending me to Morocco. Throwing a tantrum with my mother didn't work. She was set on this. In a last-ditch effort to avoid going on the trip, Elliot attempted to run away from home on the morning of the flight. He was unsuccessful. I innocently told father I wanted to go on a small walk before the departure, and as soon as I exited the front door, I bolted at full speed. It was hasty, but I had to do something. I didn't think Father would catch on to my deception so quickly. After only clearing one block, I looked behind my shoulder and saw Father chasing after me. All of my hope collapsed then and there, and I lost all of the fight in me. I stopped running and put my head down in defeat. Sumaya came in the car minutes later, and they both took me home. The plan failed. I was going to Morocco. Once in Morocco, Elliot fell into a deep depression and cried often. He explains in his manifesto that he emailed his mother every day for a week begging her to let him come home. She eventually became convinced and came to rescue him. And now, for the first time ever, we have those emails. Dear Mom, I am writing to you from a cyber cafe because the internet they have does not work from my computer, so I can't use it. Mom, the pain I am going through right now is unbearable. I had a horrible trip here. Traveling with Sumaya is hell. Sumaya has told me things that shook me to the very core. She said you plan on forcing me to stay here for a whole year, that there is no return slip, and that you lied to me about my freedom to return home when I want, which is now. How can you lie to me, Mom? I cannot trust anyone. I feel so alone. I feel like the main reason I am here is so you both can be rid of me. You didn't even check to see if Tangier was right for me. You just listened to Dad's exaggerations. He doesn't know anything. I hate it here. It is not the right environment for me. Everything is dirty. All I hear is people speaking in a different language. Everyone gives me a strange stare when I walk in public. All I think about is home. I put a blindfold on and plug my ears to pretend I am somewhere else. This is worse than my last time here. At least then I had Georgia to talk to. Now I am all alone. I am going crazy, Mom. This is the worst pain I have ever felt. I want to die, but I am scared to try because I might fail and suffer more. I am giving up on life. I am just going to do nothing and dream of home. I am crying as I type this. I always feel like crying. I don't care anymore. Mom, I am speaking from my heart. I know I made mistakes in the past, but if you come and take me home, I will try so hard to turn things around. Please give me a second chance at life. I promise I will be nice to my sister and do everything I can to prove myself. Please come and take me home. You will even see for yourself that this place is not right for me. I will even pay for it with all the money I have. Please do this one thing for me, Mom. Or even book me a ticket home and I will come myself. Being here has made me realize how great my home and life in America is. I will do everything I can to turn things around if you give me one more chance. Just one more chance. Please do this one thing for me, Mom. I picture it in my mind, seeing you come meet me here and take me home. It will be the best thing in the world. It's all I think about. I don't know how long I can hold the pain in. I hate it here. It's driving me crazy. Every moment I feel like crying. I hate it here, Mom. It is hell, the worst experience of my life. Please, Mom, I cannot stay here any longer. Please do this for me, Mom. Come and take me home. All I want to do here is die. You are my only hope. You cannot imagine the pain I am going through. Sending this email sparks a little hope in me. I cannot talk to you as much as I wished because I have to go to a dirty cyber cafe to email you. Please respond as soon as possible. Please, Mom. I don't know what to do, Mom. I am trapped in this foreign country that I loathe. Sumaya and Tarek are very busy and don't have time to deal with me. I am so alone. I don't know who to trust. Sumaya said you and Dad lied to me to make me go on a plane. I can't believe it. Please be truthful with me, Mom. Take me out of here, Mom. I really cannot stand it. Everything Dad says about this place was an exaggeration. You know him. I will even pay all my money to buy the ticket home if you can't come. I just want to get out of here. I promise you with all my heart that if you give me this last chance and take me home, I will do everything I can to turn things around. I'll clean my room, wash my clothes, I'll go to college, everything. All I think about is home. I want to get out of here as soon as possible. Please, Mom, please give me a second chance at life. Everyone deserves a second chance. It's so horrible here, Mom. Everything that Dad said about it is his perception, and he exaggerates everything. I picture you coming to take me home. I think about it so much. It is all I want. Come here and you will see that it is not the right place for me. Then we can go home together. It would be the best thing that will ever happen to me. Please take me home, Mom. I don't know how much longer I can bear this place without going crazy. I try so hard to hold it all in. Please don't let me go through this, Mom. This will be the last emails I write you today, but I can come back to the cyber cafe tomorrow. It's my only spark of hope. Please help me, Mom. In the end, Elliot's miserable time in Morocco only lasted about a week. He describes the victory of convincing his mother to save him in his manifesto. I kept emailing my mother frequently, telling her how much I hated being there and how much I cried all the time. I told her that if she would give me one more chance and enable me to come home, I will try harder to lead a better life and become a person she could be proud of. After a week of doing this, Mother gave in and flew to Morocco to take me home. I won. I was going home. This trip to Morocco and subsequent escape only fueled the fires of tension between Elliot and his father and stepmother. The tension from this trip combined with the financial crisis Elliot's father was facing due to his failed film would ultimately culminate in a vicious fight between Elliot and his parents, one that would leave him feeling as though he'd been kicked out of the family. We've watched as tension grew between Elliot and his father and stepmother. Peter Rodger's first feature film was a massive financial disaster and left him unable to assist Elliot's mother with Elliot's expenses. Elliot's mother was actively trying to convince Elliot to throw his father away, and Elliot was forced to go to Morocco with his stepmother and convinced his mom to take him home. All of this tension was building up like a balloon, and it was about to pop. A few months after Elliot escaped Morocco, Sumaya returned home from the trip, and she was not happy. Elliot explains the fallout from this trip on page 62 of his manifesto. Sumaya returned from Morocco, and she was very angry with me due to the way I acted while I was there. She effectively kicked me out of Father's house, and because I was 18, she was allowed to. Father didn't do anything to stop her, being the weak man that he is. This is how it has always been. Father has always given Sumaya free rein to impose her rules on the household. He gave her all the power. Not only did she kick me out of Father's house, but she forbade me to go there even for a short visit. And still, Father didn't do anything about it. Father kept saying that the house is her house as much as his, and that she has a right to kick me out. No! I am the eldest son. The house should be my house before hers. This caused any respect I still had for my father to fade away completely. It was such a betrayal to put his second wife before his eldest son. What kind of father would do that? The bitch must be really good to him in bed, I figured. What a weak man. Throughout his manifesto, Elliot makes it crystal clear that he hates Sumaya and sees her as an evil woman who wants him removed from the family. So naturally, in his manifesto, when he describes why she banned him from his father's house, he makes it out as if she's an evil dictator doing this for no reason. However, we now have emails that paint a very different picture. It seems as though Sumaya wasn't nearly as evil as Elliot wanted all of us to think, and that her reasons for kicking him out of the house were perhaps justified. It begins with an email from Elliot attempting to bury the hatchet with Sumaya after she has returned home from Morocco. Hey Sumaya, the situation we're in is not a very pleasant one. I know I've been rude to you and I apologize for that. How about we just forget about everything that's happened and move on? I'm trying to be a positive, normal person now, and I think we can get along. I really want to end this quarrel that's been going on between us, and I think you do too. She did not take kindly to Elliot's olive branch and instead responded in an explosive way. Hi, Elliot. The unpleasant situation has been going on for 11 years. It is not because you decided to say sorry that it makes everything alright. It is not because you decide to say you're sorry that I have to welcome you with open arms. I have done that for the last 11 years and I have only been treated with disrespect. I will explain. The last time I saw you and your mother in Morocco, Ma Khadija ended up in the hospital. That was the last straw. You didn't even bother writing or showing that you cared. Instead carried on with your mother, insulting me and writing to Jinx, Rana and your father to put them against me. It didn't work, so now you say you're sorry. So if we roll back 11 years ago, I will tell you what I've done and what I got back from you and your mother. Every time that I tried to explain that you needed to listen or do something, you would tell me that your mother said you didn't have to do anything I say. Every time that I would try to make you do something and in exchange you would get a reward, you said that your mother said it was corruption, therefore you wouldn't do it. Every time that when you got a bit older and you were addicted to the games and I tried to monitor you, because I said that you would end up isolated with no friends and no social skills, which is the case now, you said that your mother allowed it and that I wasn't your mother and had nothing to do with you. Every time that I asked you for your help around the house or with anything else, you refused and said that was my job, not yours. Every time that we wanted to have a family joyful time together, like going to the movies, beach, restaurant, or park, you would say, how about not? And when if we still went, you would make our lives hell, so we stopped going altogether. Every time that I had an argument with your daddy, it was because of you. Every time you manipulated words that I would say to your mother and your father and created a very stressed relationship between us, and many more horrendous situations. I don't trust you around Jazz because he told me that you told him that girls are bad and that he should hate them and hit them if they tried to come near. I have to put a stop to this. I never thought him to hate anybody. He calls your mother Mama Chin. I was the one to teach him that. What did your teach you? To hate me. I cannot have that anymore. I was the one that proposed to your father that we should have you every other week, not every other weekend, so that he can really know you. Even after realizing how difficult a child you were, I still tried to be close to you. I never tried to be your mother, but I treated and loved you like my own child. You have made my life miserable for 11 years, and now I want to put a stop to it. I have tried to reach out to you and your mother for years, buying you things that you like, caring for you when you're sick, cleaning after you, making sure that you were on time to school no matter how far I had to go early in the morning, cooking the food that you liked. I did this to show you that I loved you. I didn't do it for your daddy or for anybody else. I did it because I wanted to, and because I wanted you to know that I cared and you were always safe with me. Nothing ever happened to you while in my care. I also cared when sometimes I had to discipline you by sending you to your room. But you never wanted to acknowledge my authority as a caring stepmother, and I know where that comes from. For all this, when you grew up, you ended up calling me a fucking bitch and making a move as if you were going to hit me. You have brought me so much sadness that right now I would like you to stay as far away from me as possible. I have warned you that this would happen. I cannot have Jazz see me as angry as you made me. You always pushed and pushed me away. Now I am away. It is very hard for me to forgive all the abuse I have been going through from you and your mother. To be called cruel, abusive, crazy, and a fucking bitch, and be criticized with every move I make in my own house. I have to put a stop to this, and end to this very, very abusive relationship. Now, you need to know your father loves you no matter what, and of course you guys will see each other, and I hope we'll have the most wonderful relationship from now on that you've decided to be a positive, normal person. I am very happy for you and your father, but this has to happen without me. I have thought about this for very long and have come to this decision. I have spoken to many friends and psychiatrists, and every single one of them told me to keep away from a situation that is destructive for me, Jazz, and your father. You shouldn't call your father a coward. It has nothing to do with him. It is my decision and nobody tells me what I should or not do. And this has been the case since I've known you. I don't call you names with other people, like Jinx, your father, or anybody else, yet you do. In your mother's words and your own, this is a dysfunctional, angry, crazy house. So why would you ever want to come here? I would stay away if I were you. And for your mother, if I'm an angry, crazy, sick, abusive person, how could she have let you come back over and again for the last 11 years? Now I am saying enough is enough. I don't want any more abuse from you or your mother. Please feel free to show this letter to your mother. She might be able to say sorry to you. Please try to let this situation rest and don't push and push your father. It won't work. Get busy with other things in life and forget about me. I am not the cause for your unhappiness. Happiness is a choice, not given. Thank you for understanding and keeping away from me. All the best for you and wish you all well for your future from the bottom of my heart and from far away. Sumaya Rodger. If the information within this email is to be believed, then it paints Elliot as an unreliable narrator within his manifesto. Sumaya's words make it clear that she tried her best to be a good stepmother, but it seems as though Elliot's mother Chin manipulated him into resenting and hating the woman just like she did with Elliot and his father. In my original analysis of Elliot's mother, I wrote her off as simply coddling him too much, but these emails reveal a far more insidious figure. Despite being banned from his father's house, Elliot wasn't about to give up. A few months later, he decided to stop in one day for a glass of water, and this is when the tension balloon finally popped. On my last day working for Carl, I decided to stop by at father's house to have a drink. I was quite parched from the bicycle ride. I entered the house without knocking because I believed I had the right to. As the eldest son, the house should be my house after my father. Sumaya was surprised to see me, and she got angry that I didn't knock. To teach me a lesson, she ordered me to go back outside and knock. I refused, telling her that she has no right to order me around anymore. I then helped myself to a glass of water. Sumaya knocked the glass of water out of my hand and it shattered on the floor. Father clambered angrily up the stairs from his office, demanding to know what was going on. The three of us had a heated argument, and of course, Father took Sumaya's side. They both kicked me out of the house, telling me that I'm not to return. I felt betrayed and humiliated as I furiously made my way back to Mother's house. At that very moment, I hated both of them, and I wouldn't see either of them for many months. For those months, my father was dead to me. My mother was all I had left in this bleak world. But the fight didn't just end there. It continued on through emails. And we now have those emails. Dear Elliot, all of us here were really upset by your attitude and behavior yesterday. The rudeness and lack of respect was upsetting indeed. Your language was really bad. There is no excuse to call anyone those words. No excuse in the whole world. You really can't just materialize and creep in unannounced anywhere and then demand things without a certain social grace. That was what we were trying to explain to you, yet you ignored it, pushed and then became abusive. You hurt everyone's feelings, and I am sure you are hurt too by the reaction that comes back when you push out hate. As soon as you realize that you have to act in this life with fairness, love, and respect, you will be welcomed with open arms into this house and embraced. But you steadfast refuse to realize that you need to be respectful and not abusive. So there is a stalemate. This all has to be worked on, and you will find that when you start to treat people in fairness and kindness and not harshly and with anger that is uncalled for, the happiness you seek will flood into your life and you will become everything you desire. That is what you need to learn, and that is what I hope I can teach you with all my love and respect to you. You are loved. Try showing some back and the world will open for you. I hope you begin to understand that. It is the biggest lesson of your life. Call me if you wish tomorrow and explain how you feel. In the meantime, I think you understand what you did, and you have to find a place in your heart for love and not hate. So lots of love from me, your father, Dad. Dear Peter, it seems you have sent this message to the wrong person. You accuse me of showing bad attitude and behavior, rudeness, and lack of respect, when clearly it was your wife who did all these things. I just reacted accordingly. It's also funny how you accuse me of bad language when it was, again, your wife who uttered much more hurtful words towards me, such as calling me a dog and a thief for helping myself to a glass of water, which I should be able to do in your house. I have no excuse for calling her a bitch. I do not need one. I was merely stating the truth. I showed up at my family's house, unannounced, yes, like I always do. After a long bicycle ride to drop in and say hello, I am immediately greeted with attitude and insolent behavior from your wife, along with rudeness and lack of respect. She demanded that I go out and knock as if I should be taught a lesson like a little child. That is how you two view me, and that has to change if you ever want my respect. After that whole instance, I receive a call from your wife telling me that she is going to report me to the police. Good luck with that. I committed absolutely no crime, and that you are going to testify as a witness. No respectable father would do such a thing, even if their son broke in through a window. The entire email of accusations you just sent me is an accurate caricature of your inexorable devotion and loyalty to your wife, and your lack of respect for me. No matter how wicked her actions are, you are always blind to her wrongs. It has been this way forever. You have always stood by her side when she has acted rude and unfair to me, and always justified her actions. I pity your weakness and lack of perspective. Judging from the text messages you sent my mother today, I have come to the conclusion that you view me as nothing more than a child and demented lunatic. My mother has no influence over my view towards your wife whatsoever. Quite the contrary, actually. My views towards her are based on the actions she has displayed towards me throughout the years. Oh, and now comes the part where you start listing down the good things she has done for me, completely disregarding the bad. You have no respect for me as a mature adult, and therefore I shall no longer have any respect for you until you apologize and admit your wrongs. Sincerely, Elliot. Dear Elliot, and there lies the problem, your unwillingness to understand. That is what has to be fixed. Love to you, Dad. Dear Peter, the problem is your unwillingness to accept true perspective. Did you pay attention to anything I said in my last email? No, you did not, because you perceive me as a demented lunatic. I suspected as much. Well, I will no longer waste any more time writing to you unless you divest your stubbornness and open your mind. You are a sad case, Peter. No matter what I write, it will have no effect on you, will it? Because you are ignorant and only listen to one person, your wife. Elliot, you really have an awfully lot to learn. I am so sorry you feel that way. With love, Dad. These emails make it seem clear to me Peter Rodger still deeply cared about his son and desperately wanted what was best for him. But due to Sumaya's treatment of him and his mother's influence, Elliot had had enough. A few weeks later, Peter tried contacting his son again in order to help. He even goes as far as trying to set Elliot up with a therapist. Dear Elliot, I hope you are well. Things were very upsetting for everyone after the last time we saw each other, and obviously everyone feels a bit hurt. I thought your email to me was very well written, although the message was particularly difficult to take, but after thinking things through and allowing time to settle emotions and thoughts, there is perhaps some real truth in what you have said, and perhaps I have been a little overly defensive to the love and support I know Sumaya has brought to the whole family. For the record, Sumaya really wants to mend this as much as I do. I would love if you can to tell me how hurt you feel about it all. Why not list it out, and then when I know how you feel, perhaps we can mend all of this. I don't want to live my life without her, and I don't like being alienated from you, as I love you very much and I love her very much. I would love to start over and take a fresh look and see who you are today, and where we are today. As you know, I went to see a therapist, and he's a really good guy. His name is Greg Stickler. Anyway, he could help us through this if you're willing. You could even tell him everything and not me, and then he will help you communicate your feelings. I can hear you going, "Oh, he's a doctor. Dad thinks I'm a lunatic," like you wrote. That is not the case. He's a therapist, not a psychiatrist, and none of us think you're nuts. My biggest wish is to see you happy and thrive, and I will do all I can to get there. The first step is to find out how you feel, and then we can make things better. Lots of love, Dad. Hello. The way you and your wife have behaved towards me of late has been very unfair, especially considering all the anguish I've been through this past year. Yes, you have been extremely defensive and loyal to your wife, and she uses that against me. She has always treated me with disdain. I can give you several examples if you wish, but since you are so obstinate, I feel you would disregard them like you've always done. And don't go listing down all the good things she's done for me. I've heard them too many times. All the favors she has done was so she can appear to you as a good wife and win your loyalty. If she actually cared about me, she would not have said all those horrible insults to me these past years. Here, I'll give you one example. She once told me that my sweet little brother Jazz will be having sex at age 16 just to spite me. How wicked. I've told you this before, but of course you defended her. And just a few weeks ago, she reported me to the police and you let her. I agree it will be best for all of us if we mend these issues, but even so, we need to find a way to keep it from repeating like they always do. Elliot. In his manifesto, Elliot mentions visiting several psychologists, but never a man named Greg Stickler, so it is unknown whether or not Elliot ever visited the man. These emails make it clear to me that Peter Rodger loved Elliot and was willing to help him despite the incredible malice that Elliot was hurling at him. In my original analysis video of Elliot Rodger, I spent a large portion criticizing Peter Rodger and calling him a liar. I do still believe that he told lies during that interview, but now that I've read these emails, it's clear to me that Peter tried to help Elliot more than we knew. But given the situation, Elliot was entirely unwilling to listen to his father. It's curious that after reading Elliot's manifesto, I felt as though a lot of the blame for Elliot's meltdown was on the shoulders of Peter and Sumaya. But after reading these unfiltered emails, it appears to me that his mother Chin had a much heavier hand in Elliot's mental state than I ever would have guessed. It makes sense that Elliot's manifesto would paint his mother in a better way since he was so clearly on her side throughout all of this. None of this, of course, is to say that any of Elliot's parents are responsible for the massacre, but I believe that years of these fights and mind games and emotional manipulations definitely contributed to Elliot's demented state. If nothing else, these leaked emails prove that nobody is one-dimensional. There is always something more underneath the surface, be it kind-hearted or malicious. Ever since he turned 9, Elliot Rodger wanted to be one of the cool kids, but felt as though he was inadequate. In his manifesto, he often complained that he was shorter and weaker than his male peers, and also feared that he didn't fit in because he was biracial. He first began feeling frustrated about his stature at the start of 4th grade. As 4th grade started, it fully dawned on me that I was the shortest kid in my class. Even the girls were taller than me. In the past, I rarely gave a thought to it, but at this stage I became extremely annoyed at how everyone was taller than me, and how the tallest boys were automatically respected more. It instilled the first feelings of inferiority in me, and such feelings would only grow more volatile with time. Although Elliot reached an adult height of 5'9", this still wasn't enough for him. An email receipt from July 2010 reveals that he purchased a pair of shoes from tallmenshoes.com, a website that promises to boost your height by 2 to 5 inches. But it wasn't just the length of his body that Elliot worried was too short. His posts on a bodybuilding forum reveal that he was preoccupied with the length of something else as well. Or am I fucked for life, average being around 5.5 inches. The average is 5.5. I thought it was 4. This is very unsettling. Elliot was a frequent user of Yahoo Answers, and he both posted questions and answered them. His worry about being biracial followed him into adulthood, and he posted several questions asking if women were attracted to men that are half white and half Asian. He also posted half a dozen questions asking if it was legal to pour a drink on somebody's head in public, something that he admits to doing in his manifesto multiple times. Will I get in trouble for dumping a drink on someone's head? Yesterday, I was sitting in Panda Express, drinking a Pepsi and eating my dinner. Then I see a teenage guy walk in with his girlfriend. He looked about 17, 2 years younger than me, and he had a hot girlfriend with him. I am 19 years old and I'm still a virgin. Never had a girlfriend of even kissed. Because of this, I feel a great deal of hatred towards other men who have girlfriends. Whenever I see a guy with a hot girlfriend in public, I get very, very angry. So this insolent young couple starts kissing each other while they are waiting for their food, and it was torturing me. I was boiling with rage. Here I am, a 19-year-old, watching someone 2 years younger than me enjoy my heart's desire, right in front of me. This couple then left the restaurant once they got their food, and walked down the street. I looked at my cup of Pepsi and saw an opportunity for revenge. I left the store, ran after them, and poured my cup of Pepsi all over both of their heads. They were completely drenched. I then ran back to the store, too excited to pay attention to their reactions. I got a free refill and finished my dinner, a satisfied grin on my face. Ever since that moment, I've been a bit worried that there is some kind of rule against doing that. I'm always worried about breaking the rules. I didn't pick a fight with them or anything, I just drenched them in Pepsi. If they tell on me, I won't get in trouble, will I? When Elliot started seriously thinking about committing his day of retribution, he started asking questions about whether or not he would be able to purchase weapons in the state of California. Can I get a gun in California if I receive SSI benefits? If I receive SSI benefits in California for having mild autism and anxiety, can I still buy a gun? This is a new, interesting piece of information. Never in his manifesto does Elliot mention being diagnosed with autism or anxiety, nor does he mention that he was receiving SSI benefits. For those of you who don't know, SSI stands for Supplemental Security Income, and it's a government program that gives money to people with disabilities. In a different question, Elliot asked if applying for SSI benefits would prevent him from purchasing a gun. So it's possible that Elliot had only applied and wasn't actually receiving the benefits. In either case, this confirms that Elliot did have autism. Elliot also answered many questions asked on Yahoo Answers. Most of these are short, so I'll just read through all of them. Who is the best Avatar villain? The best villain, Zuko from Season 1. You forgot to list him. My muscles hurt from 5-kilometer run. What can I do? Rest. Why do people like to have sex? I can only imagine that it feels like heaven. Too bad all I can do is imagine. Those evil bastards that actually get to experience it are all greedy jerks. Do you like staying up really late at night? Yes. How do you get a girl to like you in 7th or 8th grade? You're way too young to be thinking about such things. What is your eye color? Brown. Bullied by boys so much, I can't even think of them anymore. You're mixing with the wrong type of guys. Should there be a special place in hell for people who talk in movie theaters? Definitely yes. What's something a lot of people are ignorant about? History, the world. I want custody of my little brother? You're 20. That's too young to have custody of a child. 20-year-olds can't even take care of themselves yet. Most 20-year-olds still live with their parents. Is 5 foot 8.5 inches short for 16? Are you an idiot? That is very, very tall. I am 19 and the same height as you. I fucking hate it when people younger than me are taller. Never got the college dating nostalgia? If you've hung out with jocks, then you're just as evil as them. Horrible jerk. Where can I buy a chair like this? I've seen them at Office Depot. Why people declawed cats? It is inhumane? So the cat doesn't scratch the owner. What is love, and why do I like/love him so much? Stupid little girl. So what if he doesn't like you? There are tons of other guys out there. How do I choose which person to date? The best choice is the one who is a nice, quiet gentleman. Supernatural question. Help? First you need to find out if you actually had a past life. If I was given a yellow ticket for shoplifting, will this be put on a criminal record? Yes, it will be on your permanent criminal record. Is it okay to live alone? It is hell, and it's very sad because some people have no choice but to be alone. Why do so many guys hate Justin Bieber? Because of slutty whores like yourself who are obsessed with a guy like Justin Bieber who you don't even fucking know. There are so many nice, decent guys out there who try so hard just to get one girl. It's not fair. Why do people hate Justin Bieber? Because we find it ridiculous how all these girls are obsessed with him when so many other guys out there have to try so hard just to get one girl. It's unfair and it's unjust. Justin Bieber is a thief who steals all the attention of girls from the nice, decent guys out there. Massive national disaster hit Japan, so why no looters like in New Orleans? The Japanese are very respectful. Is it okay to flirt with other girls if you have a girlfriend? No, it's not, you spoiled, ungrateful douchebag. Some people would kill to have a girlfriend, and you're taking advantage of it, you depraved jerk. Can you become a Navy SEAL with a juvenile record? I don't see any reason why you shouldn't be able to. My little brother was beat up by a middle schooler? Report them for a hate crime. They will be severely punished. Do women desire men sexually, and do they get sexual pleasure from men and the essence of men? No, they don't. I'm a man, well, legally I am because I'm 19, and women have never even talked to me. How long does it take to get used to braces? About 4 months, I would say. I'm 16 years old, and since the last 2 days, my right side of my balls started hurting. No one wants to die a virgin, but some are doomed to that fate. It's a cruel world, I know. Does arthritis make your knee grind? Please help. Yeah. And that brings us to the end of Elliot Rodger Leak Week. These emails changed my perspective on the Elliot Rodger case in a few major ways, and I'm hoping they've done the same for you as well. At the end of the day, Elliot Rodger was a shy, innocent young boy whose life experiences shaped him into a deranged killer. And there isn't a whole lot we can do as a society in order to prevent these sorts of things from happening. But thanks to these leaked emails, we are one step closer to understanding the full story of why this particular tragedy took place. And in my mind, that's extremely valuable. I would like to thank A Cruel Society for giving me the opportunity to examine and relay this information, as well as my friend Asperger for creating this original soundtrack, and my friend Nick Kindle for making the opening that I used on these videos, as well as my other friends who wish to remain anonymous who helped me comb through these emails and make sense of them. I'm Mumkey Jones, and this has been Elliot Rodger Leak Week.